Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mastering Faith. Now, though we're talking about mastering faith, Dr. Craig, the word technician, we haven't used that word, and I haven't heard that in a minute, but the word technician obviously has been the central point of what we're talking about. And, I thought about it when Dr. Craig has been telling us that the idea is, okay, you've all heard some of the, we're all Azusa-nites, right? And we've heard this before. But for one thing, it comes by hearing, right? Mm-hmm. And even outside of faith, that's the whole scheme of things. We used to say that repetition is the mother of skill. Mm-hmm. That's been my focus in life is there's so many things I want to go back and redo because we get excited about a level of understanding initially, but that's not enough to really work with. Me being a hairdresser or, that being my background, I always think of it, Sister Bev, as the first round, that's just the skeleton. The first time you go through some material, you get the skeleton of it, but that's not enough to really work with. Yes, and then you go through it again, you put some meat on those bones, and then you go through it again and put some skin, and then you put some makeup and dress her up, right? Now you're ready, so most material, I think you have to go through a minimum of 4 or 5 times before you get anywhere near any proficiency with it. And so this idea of repetition is very important. In fact, a few of you have heard what I was talking about last week or last month. Well, we're going to be talking about some of that today. I want to start in a different place, though. Because since then, I've started realizing how hard it is faith is not always the issue. We're believers, but there's something, let's put it this way, we don't lose all the time because our faith was down. That's not the first thing that goes down a lot of times. It's not our faith that goes down first. Something typically happens before then within us. And it's what I call the Tyson effect. We get punched in the nose. We get punched in the mouth. Life brings pressures about. In fact, one man says, we don't rise to the level of our calling or gifting or strategy. We fall to the level of our internal bandwidth. That's how we tend to operate, is the pressures of life can hold us down. So I've been focusing a lot on what I call, how do you pressure-proof yourself? Because that's what seems to throw us off track in business and ministry, whatever, is we do pretty good until the pressure's on. Yeah. Till it looks like the money is running out. Then we start making really crazy decisions sometimes, and we can fall out of faith. We can forget about God. Sometimes we get busy. Well, we got to figure this out, God. We'll get back with you. Once we get this thing a little more balanced here, we'll get back with you. Even though we know about faith. In fact, I want to share with you a story that I came across on the internet a few weeks ago that gives us an overview for this. It was a record producer, and he was talking about musicians, but I think we can all glean something from the story, even though we're not musicians. He says, a record producer in Los Angeles once said something that stopped the room full of musicians cold. He said, most musicians don't fail because they lack talent. That's not why they fail. He says they fail because their nervous system can't survive the industry. Their nervous system can't survive the industry. He says the biggest myth is they believe success depends on exposure in that world. We have our myths about what success depends on in the ministry or in business. He said it doesn't. He says it depends on whether your body can handle being unseen longer than you expected. Oh, wow. It depends on whether your body can handle being unseen longer than you expected. Whatever that means to you in your career. Whether you can keep creating when the numbers drop. See? When no one responds. When rejection shows up over and over and over again. He said, that's what success depends on. He said, most artists don't lose their dream, they lose their self-confidence, their self-trust. Then he landed the line that changed the room. He said, your biggest enemy isn't the industry, it's the version of you that believes you're running out of time.
See.
He said, that's your biggest for a musician. That belief kills more callings than lack of opportunity ever will. It depends on whether your nervous system can handle being unseen for longer than you thought. I thought I'd be further along by now. And we start second guessing.
Yeah.
We start questioning God. We start questioning what we're doing. It shows up for pastors with empty seats,
Yeah.
shrinking attendance, budget pressure, volunteer fatigue, delayed vision, criticism from people who you love, responsibility for souls, families, futures. What breaks leaders isn't the workload, it's the internal pressure their system can't carry. See, that's why, to me, it's always the closest analogy to this is like, and you guys would know more than I would about this, but I know when I get sick, I need somebody to pray for me. I can pray for me, but when I get sick, my body is being beat down, and it's hard to focus sometimes. I think that's one of the harder things to deal with in keeping your faith if you're really being physically challenged. In fact, I heard a pastor say that when COVID happened, that was one of the biggest things he's seen. A lot of people just gave up. He said they could still be alive today, but it overwhelmed them, the thought and the process of COVID. And they just actually gave up. In fact, that was his ministry, is I got to, build that spirit in people that there's life after getting COVID, because he said he's seen lots of people just give up. So, we all got a plan, and we're going to work those plans, but we got to be prepared for when we get punched in the nose, when we get punched in the mouth, because that can stop. That's not a faith problem. That's a me problem. That's a you problem.
Yeah.
That's, some things, some internal things that we need to do, some natural things that we need to do. We have to build up our nervous system. And I found like that's a core part of what my work is, to help people. How do you keep this nervous system? Because when the nervous system feels threatened, it starts shutting down. And what does that look like? It looks like quick decisions, bad decisions. It looks like lack of creativity. It looks like depression. I don't feel like going to work. When that feels threatened, it starts shutting down. The thinking gets narrow. The focus gets scattered. Inner dialogue gets loud. You think cut the volume up on the devil. It's like he starts talking a lot louder, but that's really you and your nervous system. He been talking. He don't never shut up either. But now we hear him a lot better because we're a lot more sensitive. Urgency strikes. Decisions become reactive. Everything feels heavier than it actually should. That's what John Maxwell used to say. When things are not going like they should, he said everything affects you. When you're in business, when there's trouble, everything. When things are going great, nothing affects you. Somebody quit Deborah, you'd be like, yeah, I'd be okay. She wasn't doing that good no way for her. But when the pressure's on and things you're losing, one person quit. Somebody that you didn't even really want there no more.
Right.
It's a problem. It's heavier. That's really not a faith problem. It's not a prayer problem. It's not a discipline problem. All that's there. It's a capacity problem.
Wonderful.
It's a capacity problem. This is what happens before faith falls. Is your ability, your capacity to stay on. So instead of trying to remove the pressure, what I found is, because pressure is not going to go anywhere.
That's true.
It's going to be here. That's part of life. Matter of fact, the Bible says it very clear. We're going to have problems all our days.
That's it.
So pressure is going to be here. So we need faith, because that's the real weapon, right?
That's it.
But there's things that we've got to do even to help maintain that faith. And that's what I'm going to be talking about, because faith comes by hearing, but there's a lot of things that go along with that.
That's right.
That supports it and keeps it focused, keeps us focused on it. So the process for me kind of looks like this. We did a little observational thinking last time. Hopefully we'll find some time to do it today. If not today, we'll do it tomorrow. But because I'm always questioning, well, how do things go? I'm a thinker, so I have to understand. That's me. If I don't understand it, then I can't really I can't really teach it. That's how my mind works. So this observational thinking, or getting in touch with what's going on, how you're coming to these conclusions, is really challenging meaning. That's what all of this is about. That's where we get in trouble, is we start adding meaning to things. That's how we get out of faith. We start adding, we're thinking one thing, we say this means that. We're making all that up.
Right.
We don't know what nothing means, okay? We say this means that. I notice I'm telling myself this means I'm running out of time. That's you. You ain't never running out of time. God's spot on time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done something for one of my sons that's 45 years later. He just set him up for the rest of his life. God's right on time. He knows what he's doing. Right on time. So once we learn to add meaning that benefits us, because that's what it's all about, and that's what, anything I teach, it has to line up with the word. The idea here is not so much just, this works. That's one thing I wanted to start by saying, really, it's just amazing how so many people in the world, they work the principles of God better than we do sometimes.
Right, yeah.
Because it's all about the meanings that we're adding to things first. And so once we learn to take control of that, then we're able to decide what we want to believe. That's how we want to be, We want to have that freedom, that clarity, that we can see clearly, and we can believe what we want to believe. That's what it is. That's what it's about for me, is not letting the devil play games and push us into believing things that aren't there. And I'll say this, just getting a little bit ahead. The challenge is, we all know when everything is good, it's easy. But when things get hard, what's happening, so much of what we're struggling with has nothing to do with our conscious awareness. It's what's going on in the background that we're not even aware of. We're not even conscious of what we're believing, because we've all been guilty of saying that, all my needs are met, and an hour later, wondering how I'm gonna pay these bills. And not even realize that we're worried. We're thinking, no, this is just logical. I gotta pay these bills. But the whole process, we're really worrying, and even that process of worrying is outside of our awareness. We're not even aware, and that's what I believe most of us, what gets us in trouble. Anytime you're not feeling good, or anytime you're not feeling great, it's because you're focused on something that you shouldn't be focused on, that's killing your faith. Because the way we're built as people, God said, what does he say? This is the day he's made. Be glad and rejoice in it. We're built to, as far as I understand, to be rejoicing every day. So if we're not rejoicing, and especially if we're feeling bad or not feeling good, something's going on in our heads. We're focused on the wrong things. And that's your first trigger. That's your first clue. Outside of your awareness, you're thinking about something that you shouldn't want, that you don't want, and you shouldn't be thinking about. In fact, I tell people when we're teaching in this area that God has been so good to us. He could have let us just say hallelujah. We could be on our way down the chute and we'd be hallelujah, everything's good. But anytime we're thinking about something, that means we're creating that. Because as a man, as a woman think it, then that's what they're creating. So anytime we're thinking about something wrong, it's like pain. We could sit in that chair, and if there was something dangerous in there, we could sit on it. If we didn't have pain, we could bleed to death and wouldn't know it. Sure. So the pain alarms us that, I did that when I was working out, back doing the crazy P90X workout. Way too crazy. And pushing myself beyond what I needed to, and I still cannot do pull-ups on this arm anymore because I ignored the pain. The pain was trying to tell me something's wrong with the way you're doing something. Well, physical, emotional pain is the same way. It's trying to tell you, you know, when you're sitting there and you're not feeling good that day, it's because you're creating something you don't want in your life. God's not going to have you shout hallelujah right now. He's trying to alarm you. Hey, change your focus. Count your blessings. Whatever you get away from this, because whatever you focus on right now is not good. And I'm not going to have you feeling good while you're hanging with the devil. I'm not going to have you feeling good about it. And so I want to, as we go back through this time, I want you to focus in on everything that Dr. Craig has talked about and see how it fits in. And I'll do my best to clue you into how it ties to faith. Because again, my point is not to so much teach faith, but to teach what supports keeping us in faith.
Good. Yes.
And what's going on so that we can have, like God said, get an understanding so we can understand what's happening, what's causing us to fall out of faith. Yes. And so this presentation is called Programming Your Mind's GPS. You know, this is my version of, what is it? Renewing your mind, right?
Yeah.
So I remember way back during the recession, the Great Recession, we're all old enough to remember that. And at that time, we had 6 salons. We were doing over $6 million a year. And when that recession hit, we lost 2/3 of our income. You know, imagine that, at those mall rents. Every day was a problem-solving session. And this was certainly God. In fact, I wrote down the other morning all the times that I could recall that God has spoke to me very clearly and plain. And this was definitely one, because I didn't even understand what he was talking about. He said to me, he said, Gerry, I was leaving Fashion Square Food Court, because we all know about Fashion Square. He said, Gerry, the problem isn't the problem. He says, the fact that you're focused on the problem is your problem. The problem isn't the problem. The fact that you're focused on your problem is your problem. Who are we supposed to be focused on? Jesus. You know, I like to even tell people that I said, you ain't even supposed to be focused on not sinning. That ain't what it said. He said focus on Jesus. Not sinning will cause you to sin. You know, focus on Jesus, not focus on your problem. And I knew it was God because I didn't even know what it meant at that time. I just knew it was something important. I thought, oh my God, I don't know what that means, but I think it's the answer I need right now. And I started working to find out what it meant. And that's what has led me here into coaching. And I found out I don't care how far I get into coaching, I found out that was one of the most important revelations he gave me. The problem is not the problem. You're gonna have problems all your days. The problem is that he didn't tell me the fact that you're focused on the problem. He gave me it a different way. One of my clients helped me with it. He said the problem is not the problem. The way you think about the problem is the problem. And I said, okay. And then I was in a session one day with a group, and she said, Gerry, that sounds like what he's saying is the fact that you're focused on the problem. I said, that's really more to the point. The fact that you're focused on the problem is your problem. We shouldn't be focused on problems. And I know you might be wondering, well, how am I gonna fix the problem? It's a very simple thing, and we'll talk about that. But I'm gonna go back one slide, because this is the focus of the presentation. But this is the answer that I want you to really pay attention to, is until you make the unconscious conscious, it's ruling our lives, and we call it fate.
Right. Until
we make the conscious. That's really, in a biblical sense, that's talking about until you get a revelation.
Right.
You know, it's actually running your life. There's these thoughts and these ideas, they're running your life, and most of them are unconscious or outside of your awareness, so to speak. And a lot of what I'm talking about is how do you make those things conscious? How do you get in touch with how you're creating the problems of our lives? let's see here. Let's go to the next, go back to where we were here. So, as a man, as a woman, think if so are they. A guy told me this some years ago, and I said, sounds interesting. I said, sounds good. I didn't know if I could agree with him totally. He said, this is the secret to life. I said, well, maybe it's the secret to success. He said, no, this is the secret to life, which is focus on what you want and only what you want. Now, for us as Christians, I mean, I believe, I know Dr. Craig led me to believe God gives me these desires.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know how to, we know what's godly and what's not. But I like to tell people, even if you focus on something not godly, it'll get you what you want.
Yeah.
Whatever you focus on, you will get. But we know what's godly and what's not. And so the key is we know we can use the Bible and we can focus on what we can focus on the promises of God. That's simple. That is if there was a shortcut to success, that's the number one shortcut. Even in faith, if you would only focus on what you want, it'll lead you through the faith process. That's all faith is asking you to do. God said this, stick with that. I don't care what it looks like, what it sounds like, whatever. Right. Just stay with this, and it will come to pass. You stay in that right in that lane. It will come to pass. What I'm talking about today is how do you make it easier to stay in that lane?
Yes.
Because you know the devil's gonna play games with us. Yeah. He's gonna play little games. I mean, he played games with Eve, right?
Yeah.
And he told, did God say that? He started. He threw her off focus.
Yeah.
She got focused on something altogether different. I guess I shouldn't be sexist. You know, Adam was right there with her.
Yeah.
He was right there. You know, they say he was most responsible. So we'll go with that. We'll accept that. And so this is our goal, is to stay focused on what we want, because whatever we focus on, we'll find evidence for.
Yes.
And for me at first, I wasn't sure if that was really true. And one day I was looking at a situation and evaluating it, and I was, making meaning, I like to say, out of, man, this is not looking really good. And I remembered, focus only on what you want. And so I decided to, wait a minute, I'm looking at this side, and I'm seeing evidence for what I'm believing right now. What if I believe this over here? Is there any evidence? I was blown away how much evidence to the contrary there was as well. You find whatever you're looking for. What is that man, what's that joke where the man says, he went to, a man came to him, he was looking for a new place to live, and the man said, how's this town? Is it a good town? He said, depends on what you're looking for. He said, are there nice people here? He went through that whole process, but his whole point was, he said, yeah, there's nice people here, if that's what you're looking for. You find whatever you're looking for. And that's how our minds are. They search out, and that's why God says, don't go by what you hear, see, or feel. Because whatever you're looking for, if you believe this could be dangerous, you'll find danger. That's just the way it goes. You'll find whatever you're looking for. The little process I came up with to help people understand this is this Google. We're talking about technology. If you take Google, and if you search Google and say, hey, what does it take to be rich? And then you do another search and say, what does it take to be poor? It'll give you evidence for both. It'll give you, and that's how our mind actually works. In fact, it says to be rich, you got to put money in the bank, in the stock market. Put money in the stock market. Don't spend money on stupid stuff. Save money for retirement. Invest in real estate. Avoid purchases that are likely to depreciate rapidly. And once you get rich, stay rich. Yeah. That's Google's advice. Now I said, well, what happens? What does it take to be poor? It says, okay, don't get an education, borrow lots of money, go to jail, develop an addiction, stay in a dead-end job, avoid work altogether. And your mind actually works like that. And I know people would say, but Gerry, I'm not thinking about how to fail in my business. You remember I said those things outside of your awareness? You actually do all the time. When you ever ask yourself a simple question in your ministry, you say, man, I wonder why we're not getting more people in. You're actually, that's a setup. That's, the devil is very, he can be slick. He's boring, but he's solid. He knows how to play us. That's, when you ask that question, you're focused on you're focused on the problem, is what you're doing. What's the problem? I'm not getting people in. You're focused on the problem. And what do you get? Whatever you focus on, you get more of it. So when you say, man, I wonder why I can't pay my bills. I wonder why, I wonder why I'm not doing this better. That's really, that's a Google search to say to Google, I don't want to do better. I want this way. And I'm going to share with you more in detail why your mind is interpreting it that way. So we have to be careful. Some people say the most important thing is to ask yourself the right questions. It's all about the questions you ask. Why is my church not growing? All that's going to do is bring up pictures in your mind of a church not growing. It's going to bring up memories, conversations of a church not growing. And that's exactly why your unconscious mind thinks you don't want your church to grow. You say, but why would it think that? Because I said I do want my church. The whole point of this conversation, I do want my church to grow. Well, your mind doesn't know that. Your unconscious mind does not determine what's good or bad. It says, that's you, your conscious mind, that's your conscience and all of that. It says, my job is to do whatever you tell me to do. Yeah. How do you tell me to do it? The pictures I see, the words I hear, and how much feeling you have around that. And that's why God says, don't ever fear anything. Because that's too strong of an emotion to be associated. And normally what we fear is what we don't want, and that's just too much of a setup. You got this strong emotion, you're making pictures of what you don't want, you're hearing words of what you don't want unconsciously, and your unconscious mind says, wow, she wants that bad, he wants that bad. I better get busy. And you're trying to figure out, why is this happening? Until you make the unconscious conscious, it'll rule your life. And you'll think it's fate. You'll think, oh, this is how I guess it's gonna go. This is the way it's supposed to go. So we have to find ways. Well, bottom line, if you don't even find the ways, the trick is, don't focus on what you don't want. So you say, well, Gerry, how do we do that? That's, it's a real simple process. It took me a long time to get used to doing it. It's real simple. You ask yourself, what do you want instead? If you catch yourself focusing like, man, how do I grow my church? And you'll know it's the wrong thing because you're not feeling good doing that conversation. You're not doing good through that session. It's really depressing you. You don't even want to have that session. So you're focused on what you don't want. You simply ask the one little question, what do I want instead of my church not growing? So you quit trying to fix the problem and you focus on what you want. Well, I would like to start growing at 100 people a month. Well, that's a lot more positive a thing to focus on. And that'll solve the church problem of not growing. And one little subtle thing that I found for me, and I'm sure I'm not alone, there's a little game that the devil will play that's really subtle. He'll tempt you into believing you got to figure problems out.
See?
You don't have to figure problems out.
No.
Now that I think about it, that's why God probably said, just leave the problems at the altar. You don't need to figure them out. Because he knows in the process of figuring a problem out, what are you focused on? You're back focusing on the problem again. And I'm going to show you in a minute, that's the whole idea, is our mind, whatever pictures our mind sees, that's why God said, be careful what you look at. That's not just what you look at, the pictures in your head. Whatever words our mind hears. And matter of fact, I'm going to tell you, this is so powerful, and that's why I got to leave y'all's president alone. When I did my master's training, they started off the tape with something that really, this training was something that blew me away. And I get away from it like anybody does. But I was thinking about it the other day. We were sitting up going off on something. Your unconscious mind is so attuned to what you're paying attention to that it thinks that even when you're talking bad about somebody else, it thinks you're talking about you. So if we're saying, man, I hate the way this guy does this and this and that, it actually thinks you're talking about you, because that's all it's concerned about is you. So everything it's like a pipe that's running dirty water. You're that pipe where you're gonna get dirty talking about it. You're gonna get messed up. You're gonna get soiled. And so, that really struck me when he said that. I'll go back and forth and say, like, I don't want to be saying anything about anything that I don't want in my life. Because my mind thinks you're talking about you. It thinks you like this kind of stuff. You like what you're talking. Whatever you're talking about, it thinks you like it. Let's just put it that way. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It thinks you like it. And it thinks you want it. So it says, my job is to get it for you. So if you think your spouse is not doing things that you want, you're thinking about the wrong thing. It says you better think about what you want them to do. Right. And then I will provoke you. I will tempt you to move things in that direction. But if you're thinking about what they want to do, if you're thinking about what your kids should be doing that you don't like, so you're thinking about the wrong thing. What do you want instead for your kids is the deal. So let me show it to you though. Right before I show it to you, because this is a very important point. Why do we believe what we believe? Why do we believe what we believe? Anybody remember? We talked about this about a month ago. Why do we believe what we believe? Because this is really important. So I'm gonna make you think about it for a minute. Well, the reason we believe what we believe is because we believe it. That's all. Now, I'm not talking about what we believe about God, faith, the earth is round, rocks are hard. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about what we believe about who we are, what we can do and what we can have. What we believe about who other people are, what they can do and what they can have. What we believe about our congregation. Oh, they're not serious about this thing. All of that we literally make up. I was coaching one client and she was like, because I had said something like 99%. She said, Jerry, really? You think 99% of what I believe about all that stuff I'm making up? I said, I'm being generous. I'm gonna say really 99.9% of what you believe about who you are, what you can have, what you can do, and what other people can have, do, and be, you're making it all up. You know how I know? You don't have a crystal ball. So how could you possibly know what you can be, what you can have, what you can do? You couldn't unless you actually can see into the future. So where's that information coming from? You're making it up. And most of it we're making up based upon what's happened in the past and our limiting beliefs about ourselves and what somebody told us. But it's all made up because the only person knows who you are truly and who you can be, what you can have and what you can do is God. You making the rest of it up.
That's true.
You couldn't know. And how do we make it up? The way our minds are built. And God's okay with us making stuff up. But if you're gonna make stuff up, make it up in agreement with the Bible. Since you're making it up, make it up where you win. Because you're really making it up. This is the process. When we believe something, our mind searches inside and out to find evidence to support what we believe. That's what our mind automatically does. It's a Google search. It goes on a Google search. It says, I believe it's gonna be hard to pull this nursery thing off. Your mind starts finding all the evidence it can to support you because we're built to be right. We want to be right. People argue even in things that are hindering them. They argue their point. I can't really speak good in public. I'm not a good speaker. I said, no, you're speaking in public right now. But they'll argue with you even though it's to their detriment. because we're situated to be right with what we believe. When we believe something and we search and we find the evidence, then we find a way to make it come true. I told you so. I went out there, you talked me into getting out there, joining Toastmasters, and made a fool of myself. I told you I wasn't good at this. We find a way, because our minds are designed to be congruent, in agreement. We got to be in agreement. That's why if we don't really believe something, we will go back to, like say if somebody believes, even if they luck up on getting rich and they didn't really believe they were worthy or they should be rich, they'll find a way to get poor again. Because it's out of agreement. They will eventually get back to where they need to be. This is why our beliefs are self-fulfilling prophecies. God told us, whatever we believe, so shall it be. They will fulfill themselves. So this is what you do. This is what wise people do anyway. This is what serious Christians do. The question is what I believe about myself, others, and this. The question isn't, is it true? The question is, does it hinder or help you? All of your beliefs, that's how you want to evaluate them. Well, I don't know if I can grow my church to 500. Well, is that what you want? Because you can sit there and argue. You can find evidence that you can't. But if it's not what you want, that's the question. It's not whether it's true, because your mind is situated to make it true to you, because you believe it. So it's going to show you all the evidence. So the way you sidestep that is you kick away the beliefs that are not in agreement with what you want or not in agreement with the Bible. We know God said, kick them to the curb. He said, catch every imagination that's not in agreement with him and cast it down. I think that's his way of saying kick it to the curb, right? They got nothing to do with you. And as I said, most of what we believe, we make up. So the answer is, to the problem, if you're making it up, make it up where you win. You're literally making it up. That's how we're designed. There's nothing, somebody told me one day, well, I'm gonna quit making up stuff. You can't quit making up stuff. That's what we do. That's how we're situated. That's the whole thing. As a person thinketh, so are they. God lets us make up. He says, the devil can't stop us. He won't push us. He lets us make our lives as we want. We're designed to make it up. But we have to be careful, because there's so much other stuff we pull into it that we really don't want. Most of that's outside of our awareness. So we need to become aware of it. And like I said, if you don't get all the way there, just know that what you're thinking, I forgot where I really wanted to go with that, but just know that you're making it up is what you're doing. Now I want to, and some of you guys are familiar with this. We went through this already. Let's get there. Most of you guys know I'm from Dayton, Ohio, the Buckeye State, the city of tires. I guess we were known for tires for a while there, Dayton Tires. I don't know what we're known for now. But the deal is this. I put this up here because I want to use it as an illustration or make a point. Let me see, where's that little, I think I have well, I'm not going to try to do all of that. Just trying to find my pointer. Okay, I can do this. This little street right here is I-35, this highway, this little salmon-colored highway. And if I'm in the right place, let's say somewhere over here is downtown Main Street. And we had a day, and I was told, my mother told me, I was telling her about this other day, she said, no, it happened twice a year. We had what we call Downtown Dayton Day. And you could shop. It was like, we didn't have malls back then. And you could buy shirt, everything went on sale. I mean, you could find a shirt for $1. Now, this was a million years ago, right? But you could buy, everybody would be downtown. And that's one of my greatest memories of downtown. And over here is a little area, oh, here it is, the Oregon District. It used to be a seedy little area. brick streets, bookstores. Now it's like a really contemporary, probably still kind of seedy, but they had condos, and it's the coolest spot in Dayton. If I ever lived there, that's what I have to live, is Oregon District, really contemporary now. What else? Yeah, here's the river, Miami, and this was a park we had over here, Caroline Park. Here it is, Caroline Historic Park. And a lot of music. Dayton's known for its music. Ohio Players, a lot of different guys there. And so we had a lot of music there. But I'm sharing that with you because I have a question for you. I'll ask Pastor Rick since he wasn't here last time. Do you know Dayton now? I've shared with you, Dayton. Do you know Dayton?
I know Dayton to the degree that you shared it.
Okay, right. I knew you was gonna give me one of those educated answers. Yeah, right, exactly. You don't know Dayton. You know a little bit about Dayton, a couple of things, but you couldn't tell somebody you know Dayton because you can't really know Dayton until you actually go and walk on those brick streets and hang out at the Oregon District. You don't have those experiences like I've had or other people have had in Dayton, so you don't really know Dayton. Well, what's significant about that is this map is not Dayton, right? Dayton is much larger than this map. You don't even have a feel for what it looks like. This map represents Dayton, is what it is. It represents Dayton, but it's not Dayton. I like to tell people it's like a menu actually represents the food, but it's not the food. You see the picture of the hamburger, it looks really good, probably looks better than it really is even, right? But you still don't want to eat the menu.
Right.
You want to eat the food. They're totally two different things. Well, this is what we do with our beliefs and our thoughts. We think they are reality. And this gets us in a lot of trouble. We think our thoughts are based in reality. Our thoughts have no connection to reality. They just represent what we think is reality.
That's true.
We've manipulated those thoughts so bad. Those thoughts are based on, we have so many false beliefs inside of there, so much information missing, just like this right here. So much information missing. Me and my sons are all intellectual, so they know so much about everything. And I'm a dad, so I don't know anything, right?
Right.
And we were debating about words. We were caught up on a word we were talking about the other day. And I said, to tell you the truth, if I be clear with you, we shouldn't be caught up on that word because words don't really explain. They're not an experience. They're just a word that represents an experience. You can describe eating an apple all you want, but until you eat an apple, you don't have a clue what eating an apple tastes like. And so words, none of that communicates what's really going on. It kind of gets us somewhere in the park. Well, your beliefs are the same way. Your beliefs, and I'm belaboring this because we're all moving based upon our beliefs because we think they're reality or based in reality, and they're not. They have no basis in reality. We make them up, first of all, based upon all our limitations and all our problems and what we think we see. Even beliefs about other people, we're making it up. We don't know people like that. We don't even know us like that. How are we gonna know what somebody in your church could be? I heard my mother say one time, an associate pastor that took over once the church split, the assistant pastor took over, and I'd heard her say all our life, oh, he couldn't be a pastor. He's assistant pastor. He does not have what it takes to be a pastor. Well, she loved him as the pastor when he became the pastor. He was a good pastor. She don't know him like that. Nobody knows nobody. So she's making all her ideas, you're making all of your ideas, and that's powerful because all the things you think about yourself that you can't be, you made it up. There's no basis in reality. There's no truth. And my goal is to free you up and I tell you the truth, when you hear it, you get it intellectually, but until you really get that into you, but once you do get it into you, it changes everything. Once you realize you're literally making it up. So now you can choose to just believe God. Since we're making it up, why don't we make it up with God?
Yes.
Why don't we go with him since he's got all kinds of authority to make this thing happen for us?
Right.
Why don't we just get with that? Because this thing over here I'm scared to death about has no basis in reality. I do not have a crystal ball, so how could I possibly know The only way I can have a clue of what's going on is to look at the Bible for us Christians. Other people don't want to believe the Bible, that's fine for them. But they even use it better. Some of them use it better than we do.
Right.
They make up a future that's bright
Right.
and compelling and looks good. While we caught up over here with God on our side to actually, he will make that thing happen. He's already made it happen, but we're choosing to believe something contrary. And my goal is like, release that power that it has over you, because it's not true. It is not real. It's just the way our minds work. And as we understand and get in touch with that, it just frees you up. So I want to take a moment and show you even the science behind it. We call this the communication model.
Okay.
And the way we experience life, the different events in our life, you know, we experience them through our five senses, right? What we see, what we hear, what we feel. That's how we experience life. What we taste. Well, there's some debate about how many million bits are coming in. The amount that most people accept is 2 million bits a second are coming into your awareness. Some people say 10 million bits. That's too much for us to be conscious of. So it drops right down in your unconscious mind. This is why a person can walk into a room and they can sense what's going on, even though it happened 10 minutes ago. They know something. What was going on here? Their conscious mind has no idea, but these 2 million bits can pick up what's going on. But what we do, because it's too many, if I gave you 2 million matches, they would fall all over the floor. You can't hold them. Let me back up. What is a bit? A bit is what is a zip code is 5 bits. You're getting 2 million bits every second as we're sitting here. At least 2 million. Well, so what do we have to do? Our minds are designed to delete these things, distort them, generalize them. It's trying to get rid of them, get down to what we believe. We focus on what we believe or what's important to us. It cuts everything else out. That's why the truth can be right before us. What we want could be right there, but because we don't believe it, we won't even see it. Because it drops right down away from us because we don't believe it. So we don't see any evidence for it. So these bits delete, and what they do, so they make what's called internal representations. What is an internal representation? It's a picture. You got pictures, you see pictures, you hear words, you have feelings. So they make these little movies, these little experiences. Those are, so what it's doing, your conscious mind is picking up 128 bits out of 2 million. Out of all, and that's what I mean by we don't see reality. We think, okay, no, Gerry, I know what I experienced. No, you don't. Because most of it dropped right down in your unconscious mind. You have what was important to you, what you wanted to see. That's why they say eyewitnesses aren't really great witnesses a lot of time. Because you ask 10 of them, they all seen something different. Because they were focused based upon who they were. So this information is coming in. You narrow it down. Is that you see what I'm saying? 99.9% of what you believe. That's how much you delete. And so when you get down to this 128 bits, you call that reality. You say that's what's real. And then we start, it affects our emotions, our state, our physiology, and this is how we start behaving on it. We react to that 128, not the 2 million, which is really, which is reality. And this is why I say what you believe is not based in any reality. It's based on these 128 bits that you literally made up. And so we always say, be careful of what, choose your 128 wisely. Choose them in agreement with what you're believing from. And again, if you understand and work with this, you start really realizing you do have the freedom to believe whatever you want to believe, and whatever you believe, you'll find a way to make come true. So that's the science behind what's going on. My whole point again is to say, you know, take this to support your faith. This is just to encourage you to, like, if the word says one thing, this is to help keep you focused on it. This isn't faith. This is to support your faith, to help you understand when God says, I'll tell you where he says that life is, he shows you where we're leading. He says, we see life as through a dark glass?
Right.
He's telling you, you do not see reality. You're seeing through a dark glass. That's why he says, lean not to your own understanding. Because your understanding is already, I don't want to say warped, it's just positioned, it's set up it's not set up with reality to agree with reality. You're set up to agree with yourself. And so you got to make sure you focus on what you want, not what you don't want. That's one of the biggest problems most of us have. We're focused on what we don't want, even when it's to our detriment. We're like, man, I don't know if I could, you know, it's like, look, we're all past, most of us I think are past 50.
Except me.
Except Doc. The one that just had a birthday. Well, I struggle with that sometimes myself. We think, well, maybe, it's too late for us. We already had our run. Well, if you want to believe that, you'll easily find a way to support that belief. And you'll fall and you'll start acting right in accordance with it. And it's not based in any reality. There's still so much evidence of so many people that did much further. And the Bible says your latter days should be better than your former days. But even with all that awareness, we can easily, and this is my whole point, we can easily get caught up in just life, what we call lifing. And we're like, we hear that, but it's outside of our awareness. We're over here with, that sounds all good, Gerry, but we have to take control of this process and start focusing in on what we want and only what we want. If we find ourselves focusing or not feeling good about something, know that you're focusing on something you don't want. And if you don't do anything else, switch to focus. Because as you're focusing on that, you're creating that thing. Because as a man thinketh, as a woman thinketh, so are they. Switch to focus. There's many things to switch it to. In fact, one guy told me years ago, he said, Gerry, sometimes he was in the personal development company. He said, I just put on a tape. He said, because sometimes I have to quit listening to myself. I said, that's brilliant. Put on some worship music, put on some scripture. Dr. Chris said, listen to 3 hours a day. Put on some self-help, put on anything, but break that trance that you're in. Break that thing because, and I mean right away, because you could start, something could happen and you could start a focus and you might be in that focus for a week. You can know, who knows when you come out of that little trance. So you have to stop those focuses if nothing else. But what I want you to learn how to do, and we'll do it again if nothing else this weekend, is I want you to learn how to, what we call observational thinking, how to, every time something bad happens to you, or something that you didn't enjoy, or something that didn't work for you, I want you to go back and watch that situation so that you can uncover the lies that were told to you. So you can uncover the false meaning that you made up. Because once your mind gets a discipline of doing that, it will actually start doing it on automatic for you. You'll start seeing, because what's going on right now is most of us we don't know how to make the unconscious conscious. It's unconscious for us, so we don't even see what's happening. But if you've ever felt bad, something is happening, but we don't see what's happening. Once we learn that skill, then it's just like we learned to drive a car. At first, we had to get very focused on it, and we didn't know what was happening, and we got focused and got focused and got focused, but after a while, then we could just turn it over to our unconscious mind. It says, oh, that's what we're doing? We're driving cars now? And now we don't have to pay attention. We can't do lipstick, but some of y'all can do lipstick. Y'all can do whatever you want, okay? And so the same thing will happen in this process. I know I shared it with you guys a few weeks ago, or a few months ago. But I would imagine if you're anything like clients I coach, one time you're not gonna do anything with it. But if I'm telling you, if you will do this, it will change your life. If you would do this for 3 months, if you would do that every morning, just for 10 minutes, your mind will pick it up just like driving, and you'll catch yourself making stuff up. I mean, the first time it happened to me, and I'll end on this, I was blown away. I thought I had went kind of crazy. Because I'm sitting up here, I said, because anything I teach, I have to know it works. I ain't gonna just teach it. So I said, okay, well, I wanna teach this stuff. I think it's real. So I started practicing it. Start watching how my mind made things up or how my mind processed situations. And one morning, I was getting ready for work, putting on my socks, not thinking about anything in particular, consciously, just daydreaming, really. And all of a sudden, it was like somebody cut the volume up in my head, and I heard my thoughts, and it startled me. Because I wasn't used to hearing my thoughts like that loud. And it was like, Gerry, I don't know why you're thinking about this. You know that's not gonna get you what you want. All this stuff I've been practicing, I heard my unconscious mind talking. And like I said, it startled me at first. I was like, I said, wow. And then I realized what it was. It was the promise that the coach that taught me to do this had told me. He said, if you will do this regularly, you'll learn how to do it in real time. Because I was going back watching things in the past. He says, you'll learn, your mind will pick it up and you'll be doing it in real time. And so now it's easy when I'm sitting up here thinking, I don't know if Pastor Eli is really, I don't know if he's really that interested in this. I realize, how do you know him? How do you know what he's interested in? You know you're making that up. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to close this deal. Well, how would you possibly know? You ain't even made the phone call yet. You know you're making that up. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, if God's gonna be able to do that. Well, but how would you know that? You know you're making it up. I mean, your unconscious mind starts calling you out on it. It's like, you're making that up, right? And that's one of the most, I would say the top things for me, so right now is focus on what you want and only what you want. And realize that everything you believe about other people and you, what you can do, be, and have, you're making it up. No problem. Make it up the way you want to make it up. And just get this process down. Everybody I've coached in this, they said that's one of the most important things they learn how to do. They said it's changed their life because they see it. It opened them up to they can choose to believe what they want to believe.
Right.
They can fight that fight.
Right.
All right. So thank you. I know it's time for us to take a break, I'm sure. But,
It's just there for a moment. We want to go through some things. Yep. All right. Let me see here. Because I want us to be able to go around a little bit, and you can keep that one, Tanya. Now, so this is on now, Gerry.
okay.
So well, first of all, let's say for those that are online and on Facebook and YouTube, Gerry, kind of let everybody know who you are, how they can get in touch with you and things like that.
Oh, okay, great, yes. My name is Gerry Watkins, and I am a mindset subconscious coach. And you can get in touch with me at theleadersedge.online is the best way to get in touch with me, or Gerry at theleadersedge.online.
Yeah. And what are some of the things that you specialize in as far as when people want coaching, they want to get in touch with you? What are some of the things that you specialize in as far as entrance? Like people that are in business, people in ministry.
Right.
Like if they want to get in touch with you, what are some of the things that you could really help them immediately do?
Yes.
And then get in a relationship with them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the number one, first of all, people I work with mainly are business leaders, people in the whether that be in the Christian community or the secular world, or business owners. And I focus primarily on mindset work and leadership. And when I say in mindset is my, both of them are strength, but in mindset work, my primary focus is to help you become the person that you were designed to be originally and the person that you need to be to achieve your next goal. That's my primary focus, is who do you need to be That means what qualities and abilities you need to have, or maybe it even extends into what skills you need to have, what knowledge you need to have, but who do you need to become? Because I like to think you got what you got now because of who you are right now, what you've discovered. I like the word you came up with, what you discovered about yourself so far. My goal is to make sure you discover enough to get you to the next level about who you are. And we do that in a very scientific, proven way that will definitely get you there.
Excellent, excellent, good, that's good. I want to make sure they get that, because a lot of people need that. Business and also churches need that, pastors need that.
Right.
You know, in those areas, because, like you were saying, I share one aspect of it, but I'm just one person. You share a whole other person, so that's why we need everybody in the body of Christ.
Right.
Both in business and also in ministry, so I want to let people know about that. So let's get some response on what Gerry said. Any questions anybody have, or comments, what he's taught on and things like that? We can have anybody, Tanya, bring the mic around to you. Just response to what's been taught. Bishop Rick, there you go. There you go, Pastor. Right there. Go ahead, Pastor.
Yeah, I really liked what you shared on changing the GPS or renewing your mind, because you brought it up to a different level. Most people that I've heard teach on renewing your mind, they're always renewing from and never renewing to. And what I mean with that is you got to quit thinking pornographic thoughts. You got to quit thinking on alcohol. And so they're always renewing from. So like you said, they have the problem right there in front of them, and that's what they're focusing on. And as much as they try to change their way of thinking, you know, or make a change, they can't, because they're focused on the wrong thing and not what they want, which is to be sober, and so they're not renewing to what God has done in them. What you brought it out to was sometimes in ministry, we're working the same thing because we were always applying it to sin, but it really blessed me. What you brought out was why isn't my church growing? Now I'm focused on the problem, so I need to renew from and renew to what I want.
Exactly.
You know, my church is growing, and start setting parameters on how it's growing.
Yeah. That's what Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he said it in a way that helped me too. He says, never say you can't afford something. Because the minute you say you can't, then your unconscious mind accepts that as your direction. It says, okay, so we're not interested in that anymore, right? And so he says, instead, ask yourself, how can I afford it? What do you want instead? Ask yourself, okay, set a goal for the church. Well, what does growth look like? Let's focus on growth, not what I can't have. And so I'm really glad that, you know, that stood out for you, because you're exactly right. In fact, one person, I do this marriage counseling thing, and the guy had told me years ago, he said he didn't like marriage counseling because you go into marriage counseling and talk about your problems. Well, that's not very effective, because sometimes things get revealed that other people didn't even know. You can leave out worse than you went in. You know? So it's like, it's not about the problem, it's about where we're going, where we're trying to get to.
I love it. I love it.
So thank you.
Excellent. That's great. Who else? Response or questions, or the bishop?
I appreciate both teachings, of course, the faith teaching, and then for Gerry to come in and piggyback on that with the mindset. I think the thing that jumped out mostly to me was how we have to do some things intentionally to combat against the inner dialogue that's speaking so loudly, and how it's not the enemy talking us out of it. It's not somebody else talking us out of doing things, but we literally talk ourselves out of going after the level of life that is possible, because if God has downloaded it into us, then that means we have the ability to do it. But many times we don't see ourselves, I'll say, from God's elevated advantage point. We see ourselves based upon our experiences, based upon the lies and the deceptions that the enemy has hurled at our lives for so long to thwart the work of God in our lives, that if we begin to see it not from our perspective, but from God's perspective, and see ourselves based upon that, that there's a whole lot more we can do in life and we can move forward.
I love it. I love it.
No,
Yeah.
that's beautiful, Pastor. You know, that takes me back to yesterday. That's why we don't want to set our goals from our head, because it only takes us back to our memory and what has happened,
Yeah.
not our imagination where everything is possible. And so we have to, we definitely want to be clear about that, because in our imagination we can make anything happen from there. God, God, and so the quickest way, again, I like to know the big picture, like what's going on in the details, but I like the straight route. The straight route is go what's in your heart. What's your dreams?
Yeah.
Those, Dr. Craig was the first one, because I wasn't that kind of guy originally. It's like, dreams? I don't, if it wasn't in my head, I couldn't get with it. But I did learn and accept the fact that he says, the desires of your heart, that's God putting those there.
Yeah.
And you go with those, and I tell people all the time, we had one guy at the church who said, well, I want to be a billionaire. And I just think, do you have $1 billion plan or anything? Because I think you're just mimicking what somebody else says. And I believe the dream that you have on your heart, the dream that Pastor Rick has, everybody has, I think that's already bigger than we know what to do with, right? Yeah. So I think it'll be plenty big, and the most important thing, it'll be what truly fulfills us.
Right.
That's another thing with coaching for me, and what I like about the work that we're doing now is that it's connected to your values, which is how you get fulfilled, so that you don't end up, even as a pastor, and I haven't really thought about that till now, so many people in business, and I'm sure pastors they could build a life that wasn't really necessarily for them. They don't get fulfilled in it, in other words. They didn't get fulfilled, and that's why it's so important to really internally do the work and find out, how did God make me? Our values are a very clear indication of how he made us, what's already important to you. And then we work on that. We work from that place so you're connected to the work, so that you don't end up building a wall that's not where I wanted to go now, 20, 30 years later. That's not why, I got caught up in somebody else's dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Yes.
Oops.
Oh, I take
There we go.
I just wanted to point out what Dr. Bev said yesterday about the thoughts, when we were talking about the woman with the issue of blood, and she talked about the thoughts. So it goes back to what Gerry is talking about as far as the thoughts. We got that one word in the NIV version went from came to thoughts, and then Gerry is piggybacking on the thoughts, and to take the 10 minutes every morning and catch what you're thinking. And it was a thought that changed it all. And so
Amazing.
that's what made a difference for me.
That's good. I love it.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm getting out of the class is that we walk by faith, not by sight. Then Gerry talks about the mindset, and that the fact that what we see, as far as you're talking about disordered. My vision is disordered, not clear. Mm-hmm. And now, what we see in life every day, the things that does not line up with God's word, but we walk by faith. We walk by faith. We walk by faith. And not by sight. So we're too busy looking at the world, and not what his word says about faith. So now we got to stop looking at the world and looking at what the word says about the vision, that what we see in our mind. Mm-hmm. And this is what I'm getting. So now I got to get all this worldly stuff out of here. Mm-hmm. Stop looking at that dark glass. Mm-hmm. So I can get a clear vision. Mm-hmm. So to the point where I'm not distorted anymore. My eyes are not distorted, and I got to focus.
Yeah. Now you make a good point. It's hard to walk by faith when you don't even know where you're trying to go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, God said, write the vision, make it plain.
That's it.
And that's what we really got to do. Because even the faith, as you're mentioning, that's where I think our faith will grow.
Yeah.
As we get more and more clear on where we're trying to go in this, as far as God is concerned.
In the back.
Yeah.
Look forward, yeah.
Yeah, and so then your faith, I think that's where you have an opportunity anyway for your faith to grow, because when you start seeing, okay, this is what I really want to do, because whatever, as a matter of fact, now I think about it, I know that's true, because whatever you focus on, you're going to get faith for.
Yeah, you got it.
You're going to get faith for. Yeah.
I love it. Did you have something, Beverly? You just going to pass it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Deborah, you got something?
Deborah. I like that.
Sandy, good. Tanya.
I was just saying what a circular motion it all is. You know, it's a reciprocal motion, input, output, what you put in, what you visualize and see. Because I always say I'm a visual learner, but I'm starting to realize that everyone's a visual learner because we create the imagery of whatever we're putting in, what's in front of us. You know, if it's bad or good stuff, it creates that imagery that you're talking about. And so that visually helps me to even understand how faith is created and executed, you know, because it starts with that thought, that simple thought that we forget about. And what is it? Seed time and harvest. Seeds are planted in there. It's visualized, it grows, it becomes that substance. And that's what puts out. So we can either put out that negativity, problem solutions because of what we're focused on in there. And seed time and harvest. What are we, you know, growing? What seeds are we allowing to take root in our brains? Those thoughts, seeds.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because that's another benefit of taking the time to watch, doing this observational thinking. One of the number one problems we have, and you know, in the coaching world, they would say it in a minute, is we're all running on automatic. We don't have control of our thought life because we build life out of life is designed to be ran on automatic. Like, you know, we run out of habit.
Right.
And that's great for the things that work. But when something isn't working, you got to be able to slow it down and see what's going on. And so if you take 10 minutes a day and go through this process, what you're actually doing is training your brain to slow down. So now you're starting to get control. And you're starting to get connected with all your parts, not just your spirit. Your unconscious mind is lining up because you're talking through with it. I had one client years ago. She had no control. She told me, Gerry, sometime when the pressure comes, and she had a business, she said, I just have to take off and go to the beach for a week. You know, now she can't afford to, but she said she would that pressure would build up, and she said, I just got to take off. And she learned how to do this process. And she was really skeptical and hard to work with, but she learned this process. And I called her around Christmas time because we took a little break for maybe a few weeks. So I called her to check in on her, see how she was doing. She said, well, you know, the furnace is messed up right now. And so we got to figure out how we're going to get that fixed. We're going to have the money to get that fixed. My husband's been laid off. And she was saying, you know, one other thing she mentioned, I'm thinking like, okay, well, she's going to tell me how bad things are going in a minute here because this girl, you know, she has a hard time. And I said, but how are you doing? She said, I'm doing great. She said, all the kids are home for the holidays and everything's great. She said, this stuff really works. She said, I'm focusing on what I want. We'll get this stuff figured out. And she said, before I learned how to do this, she said, because she's always comical. I tell her, you should be a comedian. You really need to be a speaker because she's so funny. She says, before I learned how to do this, my thoughts were running around like little bad kids in the street, doing whatever they wanted to do. And that's what we're all, at some degree, our thoughts are just running around doing what they want to do. And through that process, you can learn to take control of your thoughts. You can catch them, just as the Bible says, because you'll recognize them. And the trigger is, what am I feeling? Anytime I'm feeling bad, I'm creating something bad, and that'll start being your trigger. And you'll be like, what was I thinking like 5 seconds ago, 3 seconds ago? Oh, you was thinking about that bill. You got that text.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you was in a bad mood. You're like, oh gosh, okay, yeah, I gotta call these people. You know, that's what you think about. That's too. But if you didn't have that ability to catch yourself, that would just roll over into the rest of the stuff you're doing. And all of the stuff that comes to you that day just rolls over, and then before you know it, I'm having a bad week. Or I'm not having a hallelujah, thank God for creating the world every morning week. I'm not having that week for sure. And so that's so important, LaTanya, that we learn to catch those thoughts. And that's the best way, that's the most direct way I know to do it, is to really set a discipline to monitor. And you'll be like, the cool thing about it is you'll be working on the issues of your life specifically. Because you just make a list of all the things that you want to watch, and you'll be clearing stuff up. And that's what I wanted to say, and I'll say that in closing, is somebody over here said something that made me think about it. what you'll start having are these aha moments that will change your life. You know, maybe once a week, if you watch 5, 7 times a week, you'll probably have, at least me, everybody's different. I have at least one aha moment. Like one time I was watching, and I think I was dating or something, and something didn't go so well, and I'm thinking like, you know, focus on what I don't want. And it dawned on me that not only am I making up stuff, everybody in the world is making up stuff. So when people don't really accept you in the right way, don't reason for you to take anything personal about that. They don't know you like that. And whatever they know, they made it up. They totally made up. And that was a huge aha for me about interacting with people. Nobody knows you like that. Not even husband and wife. There's just, you don't even know you like that. So how does somebody else really know the intents of your heart and all the things in your head? And once you get that, it totally freed me up from what anybody think about me about anything, because you don't know me like that. You know, but that was an aha I got out of that, because I thought, she's making stuff up too. Of course she is. Everybody's making stuff up about each other and everybody else. Yeah. So anyway, that's all I got to say.
Yeah. So you think about that's what happened with the woman with the issue of blood. She had to get out the past, and she created a future for herself. Because it starts off with a woman had an issue of blood for 12 long years, passed, nothing better, growing worse, but then she had an aha moment. A creative moment. Wow. And then she said, and she began to create her future. If I touch him in his garment, she'll be made whole. She had to let go of sin and stuff other ways, and she created another future for herself. She had to slow herself down. She slowed herself down, and she thought,
she could have surely been stuck in that memory,
Yeah.
that history of 12. After 12 years, you pretty much give up, right?
Doctors can't do you no good. You're getting worse. Your money gone. So then, she could have really just stayed there, stuck. Yeah, and she started focusing on what she wanted. Like you said, Gerry, she started focusing on what she wanted. And she said, I'm going to go forward now. So she created a future. Is that what you did, Gerry?
No, I love that.
Yeah.
Because that even takes you back to that thing about, we were talking about your goals. You don't worry about how.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah.
And God gave her a how. I'm sure He inspired that idea.
He inspired.
Obviously.
That's right. It was creative. It was a creative. What do you call it? A creative idea that she had. Nobody never thought of before.
Yeah.
And so God gave you a creative idea that's principle oriented. That she didn't know what she was doing, but it worked.
Yeah, and that's why you don't worry about how.
Yeah.
What is it that you want?
You
Get
got it.
crystal. Just really keep honing in, and either through natural experiences or even God experiences. I was trying to think of an experience this morning, or something I read in a book, where a guy was focused so much on what he wanted. There was a fossil. He had a dream of a fossil. It was, I forget what he was trying to do, but he had a dream of something. He drew it out the next morning on the paper, and he found out it was all real. He has no way he could have known about any of this, but he was so focused on this project or this thing he was trying to create, and he couldn't come up with a solution. He had this dream, and he said the next time he had that dream, he was going to draw it out. He drew it out, and he found that fossil for real. And so as we focus in, and that's the cool thing about us being Christians, there's a God. We're not just relying on natural occurrences. We have God that will just line us up.
Yeah.
Because I used to wonder, okay, people say you're drawn to what you want, and they say God or the universe, whatever they say, brings it to what you want. I found out it's both.
Yeah.
When you're focused on what you want or what God said, He will, and one guy, he breaks it down really plain for you. He will draw you to the people,
You got it.
to the places and the circumstances to fulfill that. And you will be drawn
Yeah.
to the places and the circumstances to do that. Dr. Craig, I was telling Simone about that the other day when you went to Africa.
Yeah.
Why were you drawn to Africa? You didn't even know what you was going there for.
No, sure did.
And what? He was drawn to the pastor, come back, everything's different.
Yeah.
God will draw you. It's all about what are you focused on. But he won't even draw you if you're focused on something else. He didn't draw the Israelites that didn't want to go to the promised land.
Yeah.
You know, if he was just sending people wherever they wanted to go, because they said, hey, there's giants over there.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
ain't interested.
Yeah.
And they didn't go. And God didn't make them go.
No.
So yeah, so it's all about that focus. What do you want? And just like you've been using Edison, even if it takes you 10,000 times, you will figure it out.
Yeah.
And even though it took him 10,000 times, he changed the world.
Changed the world.
Forever.
That's right.
You know, we thank God that man was persistent. You know, so yeah, if you just stay focused on what you want and get rid of the distractions and understand, stay in faith is obvious. That's the main thing. But what are these things that can pull you out of faith? You got to deal with those things.
Yeah, 'cause my first trip, that was what happened, because I know God told me that I was going to be going over there, and we went through, we was on our way to Uganda, stopped off in Kenya, because that was the people that I went with, that was their first stop. And so then we're in this conference. On the last day of the conference, Bishop Undo, Apostle Undo, he had heard about someone having a seminar. He was just coming to see what was going on. And on the last day, they said, well, we're going to find out maybe all these people from America can, maybe come up to People's Church. So they connected me with him, of all people. So then we went out to lunch, and I'm telling him, he said, man, I've been praying for someone to come with a school. And then he said, you know what? He says, what I'm going to do is I want to turn, it was 22 churches. I'm going to turn all my churches over to you and come with the school. And we're not way to Uganda. So God's got a way of bringing the right kind of people. And so that's what opened the whole Africa to us. In the natural, by accident, but it wasn't an accident. I'm away somewhere else. And the last day of the seminar, the person that God was going to connect me with that opened up all of Africa to us on the last day. So you never know how God going to do things, and so we just got to get started, Jerry.
Yeah.
And what God has dropped into our heart. So, God gives us our heart and recognize, and like one issue of blood says, I'm going to my future. I'm going after what I really want. I'm going after that desire. And God got a way of putting things together. And like I said, no matter how small this may appear, in here, it's not about that. It's about connections. Amen. People that,
What did God say? One or two?
One or two, that's it.
That's what he told me earlier today.
Yeah.
He said, I just said one or two.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the whole point, because you never know what this group right here and others are coming in are what God has ordained. Amen. And so I know myself. I know I'm not I'm not nothing small. So the fact that God connects y'all with me, He knows where we're headed. When I meet you, Jerry, I can only talk to you today. I can only talk to millionaires there. If you just okay, I'm one. Okay, conversation open. Because I believe that God connects us with people according to His design. His design He has for our lives, and people of like faith and things like that. And so I don't know. I think that's good, Jerry. I'm just excited about what's going on.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Because this, we're going to stop for a moment, and we're going to be finished at 3:00 today. So we're going to do some things, but at this whole point, I want to be able to get to some things, because some of you may, if you're going through some things, what are you going through? What are you going through? What's working, what ain't working, and why we got people that are here to help you with those areas. If it's business, I know Gerry, y'all business, y'all put ministers here. Everybody kind of double around here. Let's talk about that. I'm not putting that on Facebook because the camera's off right now. But I want to just be able to say, what's working, what ain't working. Maybe while we're here today, we can kind of do some. I know y'all got to go in a few minutes there. Okay, Deborah. Okay, take it over there for a minute. Because we're not recording no way. It's not being recorded. Unless you want to record. You don't want to record? Okay, no. Yeah, but
Just saying, because in business, I think that the biggest challenge that I'm having right now
it still is being recorded.
is not,
You good? Oh, here we go. It is still being recorded. That's good.
It's not streaming though, right?
It's streaming, yeah, so it's good.
okay, that the challenge that I'm having in the business side is getting enough staff. And it's not only my challenge, it's in every industry, basically, that we're, having this challenge. And so I'm really working on a solution, because I'm tired of just paying for ads, through Indeed. Basically that's the only thing that I basically know of. But just really coming up with a creative way, whether I have to start my own agency. I am at that point, just to start my own agency and train staff so that I can have staff.
Right.
And then, then some other people, they can use it. But I think that's the biggest challenge that I'm, having, is just getting the right people. I call it that we are on a bus, and I just got to get, we are all going in the same direction. We're going to, end up the, same way, but I got to get the people in the right seats on the bus.
Correct.
Yeah, so.
So Jerry,
That's
how many
what I'm
employees
dealing
did you
with
have,
that.
Jerry, at one time?
Well, we had about 150.
So 150 employees, so he
Yeah.
might be able to help you out with how to keep them, but what to do here, go Jerry?
Yeah, no, well, again, even though, like, you're working on solutions, but it's so easy to tip into, I don't have the employees, and to be the real focus. Because that's what we have to ask ourselves is, one way to find out what you're really focused on is think about what are you really seeing in your mind. Even that discipline, you ask people, well, what pictures are you seeing? It's like, pictures? I'm not seeing any pictures. We see pictures for everything. That's how we know where we live. We see our house. It's a picture of our house in our mind. That's how we know it's our house. So sometimes we might even think we're focused on what we want when we're really still focused on what we don't want. So we're working against ourselves. So I would ask you to start with, what do you want instead? Like say if you are focused on, man, I really don't have enough employees. What do you want instead of that focus? What would you want?
A staff full.
Okay, and what is a full staff?
I have 17 staff right now, so I only need a couple more.
So you want so that would be what, 19? You
Yeah,
need
well,
19
20,
staff.
yeah.
But you want to stop the turnover too, right?
I don't really have a large turnover.
Okay.
Just that we have grown and I had to make some adjustments. So I don't really have a high turnover.
Okay.
Right. So again, but just for conversation, it's like, so the focus becomes, how do I have 19 staff? It becomes a focus. Like, for instance, when I first learned this and I was doing this, and it's not always over, nothing, things a lot of times aren't overnight. You just take what as it comes. But like when we were bleeding I think $27,000 a month we were having to pay for that Fashion Square, and it was killing us. And I learned this process. And one of the things I had to do is, if you have a particular area in your life, you want to already have a prepared focus. So my prepared focus for my salons in general, anything going wrong with the salons, I had my catch-all. How do I have 100, not 100, I wanted 25 busy, I started with happy, 25 happy, skilled, busy hairdressers. Something short and sweet. So what happens, because I'll just trust me, you're focusing on the opposite side more than you think. That's just our nature. So, and and when you'll know you're focusing on it, you won't be feeling good. You'll be feeling like, man, this is a hard spot in the business. Just like even when you say it, this is the hard spot in the business. You're focusing on it being the hard spot. Okay, so your unconscious mind thinks, oh, you like the hard spot. I'll help you make it hard. So what I would have to do, anything that happened in the salon that was negative or that I didn't like, that was my catch-all. I would say right away, how am I having 25 busy, skilled, happy hairdressers? This is really cool. I would, if though I already have them, how am I having this? That would switch my focus right away. So it's kind of like, it's not kind of like, it's actually just like Dr. Craig used to say, God uses the devil like a sparring partner. He punches and it reminds us what to do, okay? And so you would want to have this, you would want to get this catch-all thing of what do you want, what do you want overall in your business? What do you want? Something you could say to yourself every time something goes wrong, every time something feels wrong or you're not happy. Now, that said, you want to deal with the specifics as much as possible. So when I got 19, I got 17 people, but I really need 19. Every time something comes up about a staff, your mind has to go back to what you want. It's not, it's not even about, it's not even so much about how do I get 2 more people. It's really about even, we could take it all the way to faith. It's like, I got 19 people. Every time it comes up, you got to, and that's what I was talking about. We don't have that discipline, most of us really, to do that. It's like every time I'm pushing back to, and if we be real, I got 19. That's why I say it that way. A guy taught me, he said, well, you can say, the goal is say what you want and then ask, how do I get it? You can ask the Holy Spirit, how do I get that? Those are the 2 rules. So to shorten it up, he says you could say it in a question form, which is much more powerful in your mind. You can say, gosh, how do I have 19 people? This is amazing. How do I have 19 busy, skilled hairdressers? Then your mind is relaxing around that. And now it's free. We were talking about that pressure. When that pressure is on, the creativity cuts off. We start feeling a little panicked, a little rushed. But if our mind thinks we already have 19, if we tell it enough that, then that's the same instruction to get it, but your mind already thinks it. In fact, there was one exercise, I was thinking about we would do, and we may maybe do that tomorrow, where we walk you through this process and we ask you, what's your goal? And I'm shocked at how well this thing works. They say, what's your goal? You say, like in your case, what's your problem? I need hairdressers. Not hairdressers, you need people in your daycare. And you would say, I would say, okay, I want you to imagine, whatever you need to imagine in your mind, you having, you tell me what your solution is. You want you want employees. Imagine whatever you need to imagine. It don't even have to be realistic. Just imagine whatever you need to imagine to have those employees, and tell me when you've done that. And I've been shocked at how much your mind will relax and get free and start working towards it. Because what's really causing the problems is the pressure of getting them. It's that pressure that'll even keep you from coming up with creative ideas. And most of us want to get right to the ideas, but really we're the bottleneck. In fact, I did some, and I'm still doing it. Matter of fact, if you want to do it sometime, it's a free session where I help people find out what's the number one problem internally that's keeping you from moving to the next level, getting where you want. And most of the times we think it's things like marketing or different things. It's really inside of us. It's something it's some friction, some resistance, some unbelief or something inside of us. And it's easy if you think about it. It's just hard to know a lot of times, be conscious, because most of us haven't trained that way with what we're thinking most of the times. And like I said, most of the times, I would say more so than not, we're thinking about what we don't want. Because it's been a natural flow all of our lives to think about what we don't really want, even though we're trying to think about what we want. We're worry. That's a number one way to think about what you don't want. Whatever you worry about, that whole bit of information is what you don't want. But we do it, and the devil tempts us into it. Or trying to fix a problem. That's his slickest way. He gets you to focus on the problem. It's like, I don't need to focus on the problem. If I have 25 people or if I have 20 people, my problem's gone. So let me focus on, my main thing is to focus on 20, 25 people. And you can normally, maybe you can feel it, maybe you can't, even just switching your mind to that lightens everything up for you. Because that's something you want, so your insides get happier. That's been my experience.
I just had, I don't know if it's a realistic suggestion. Like there's people at school or that do the home daycare situations that, the 4 or 5 folks or that sort of thing, and I know a lot of them start to get burned out after a while. Is there a society or organization of them that, might have email addresses or something for a lot of these type of folks that maybe you can pull from, that come join us? They can bring their kids over, which brings that money over, and then they're already kind of somewhat trained or accustomed to kids, so they just kind of embed their own business inside yours. you know? Because there's a lot of them that I know, at a certain point get burned out a little bit of doing everything themselves, that might want to. It's a good solution for our clients, so their kids still have someplace to go. I'm still going to get paid. I understand that there might be a difference in income because I'm joining, you know, with the parents' permission, you know. Obviously, logistically, it needs to be someplace close by where the kids can go, but you might be able to get an employee that way, that want to be able to not carry the whole business themselves, but to come in and leave work there, and help with the kids and leave. So there's kind of a mid-solution, so I'm not sure if there's other home groups or workers, I don't know if that's through DES or whatever, where there's, numbers where maybe we could call and say, are you interested in this? Or if there's an advertisement that can go out in a newsletter or something that goes to them. It's kind of like working from, you know, like companies hiring within the industry and not having people come in that are not familiar with the industry, but that might be something. Maybe get a hold of a list through DES, or I know DES has newsletters that go out to the different providers. Maybe put an advertisement or something in that, you know. That's great idea.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's possible, but, you know.
I love it. Yeah, and see, that's what this supposed to be, you know, that's that we said, right now you're in the hot seat. that everybody kind of pour in to you, you know, in those areas, because then the different ones we do like that. And so I think that's great. That's great ideas. Of course, because Gerry has the experience, Tanya has the experience like that. And then, you know, and then I'll just say, you know, right now, just begin to, you know, change the name from Abram to Abraham. I have. You know, like Gerry said, you become that. I have. How many you need? 17?
19, 20.
I have 20 employees, and others are waiting in line to become. You know, because Bible says God gives us exceeding abundant above all we can ask or think. So I begin to change that. You know, in that 10 minutes you're talking about there. You know, thanking God that I have 20 employees, and there's others that are waiting. I got a waiting list. People waiting for us to have an opening in our daycare center, and
it may seem like a small thing.
Yeah.
But the connection is when that pops up, because you know to do this, Deborah. I know we all know to do it. But when the trick is, when that thought comes at you, it's doing it there is the most powerful time to do it.
Yeah.
Is when the devil's talking to you
Yeah.
about something, we have to have the discipline. And the awareness is where the problem. We probably have the discipline and the awareness to say, gosh, you know, instead of going down that way, we say, oh, gosh, how do I have 20 employees that are just some of the greatest daycare workers, whatever your criteria is, because you keep going there, it keeps you in a creative mode.
Yeah,
now.
you got it.
And it switches your focus, just like as we're talking about it, it's causing LaTanya to think about ideas.
Yeah.
To fix it. Well, you can do that within yourself. You can do that in a mastermind.
Yeah.
But the trick on a personal level is to be able to do it in that moment that you're being attacked.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't even know we're being attacked.
Yeah.
We're just thinking, oh, yeah, no, it's kind of late in the day. I'm just feeling a little slumpish. No, you're thinking about some nonsense. Trust me. We were built to be able to live 16 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
So, no, there's something else going on. And so being able to catch those thoughts. And that's why, again, a lot of us, I'm just being real, we want things, because, you know, I get it. We're in a place in life right now where, in society, where we want answers. We want to get right to it. This is my belief as a coach. You already have your answers.
Yeah.
You already know what to do. God equipped you to do it. If he equipped anybody to do daycare, he equipped you to do it, okay?
Yeah.
You already know all the answers. You know far more than any of us in here. That's not the problem. The problem is you getting yourself in a position to hear those answers and get to those answers. You know the answers better than any of us do to this problem. So the idea behind coaching is to get you, me and you, to talk to the Holy Spirit together, to him to guide me, to question you enough to where the answers come up. And you to situate yourself. You know, it's like gardening.
Yeah.
Getting the soil in a place where we can grow good things, and things will just start happening. Like one guy, I coached with him about a year and a half ago. This he's really caught on. He coaches with all these people, just that, does different things. Well, once we got him cleared out emotionally and mentally, just the first month, he doubled his revenues. By the 8th month, he had tripled his revenues. He did, and he had the answers.
Say that again, Jerry.
Yeah, double. Yeah, no,
love that.
yeah, no, really. After the first month, he said, Jerry, you're not gonna believe I doubled my sales. And then, and I didn't even know it till we did the second testimonial. He says, I've actually tripled my sales. It was about 8 months later. Started 2 companies. Finished this book he just launched in January. Stuff that had been sitting, taking him years to do. And so my point is, it's really about us, what's going on inside of us mainly. It's not mainly, it's what's going on inside of us. It has to be us.
Yeah.
It has to be us. That includes, when I say us, I mean me too. I know that my issue, what slows me down is me.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest thing, is getting clear on certain things inside of me, doing things to keep myself clear. And obviously the biggest thing is faith, okay? God, that relationship with God, obviously, it's where it starts. But there's a lot of other things for me to even stay focused
Yeah,
with him
focus,
that gets
yeah.
in the way.
I think that is really great because, because when it happens, then I get frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I've been dealing with this, and so I had set a goal
Mm-hmm.
January 5th, that was gonna be it, but I'm almost there,
Mm-hmm.
not quite yet.
Yeah.
And then I get frustrated because I have so many business opportunities just right there in my lap, and I can't go any further until I get this here totally done. But, I've just hired a personal assistant, so that was another big step, so she's only been with me for about two weeks now.
Yeah.
3 weeks really. And so that's why I'm almost there, but I can see myself when somebody calls in, just like, okay, then I get frustrated,
Exactly.
and then, so, yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about, is having that ability in the moment. When it happens, you got to be able to switch to what you want. Because the devil is trying to get you to get frustrated, get mad, and you start thinking, and even maybe to get you to say, this is too much. This is too much. I'm not going to be going through all of this. When you right around the corner, but if we get that discipline of, we don't have to be 100% of it, none of us going to be perfect with it, but when we can mainly just, every time we're focused on what we don't want, we have the ability to recognize, I'm not feeling good, okay. What am I thinking about? Okay. And things that we do regular inside of our businesses, we have that catch-all. It's like, man, how am I having a nursery that's making like $2 million a year? This is great, God. How's that happening? Now you're thinking about that in that moment.
And think about how to share with her brother.
Yeah.
This is my baby. Y'all probably, this is my baby sister. There. My baby sister. There. Yeah.
So I'm glad we're open about that, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is what we do. We get frustrated, we get angry, we get scared, think it ain't gonna work. And I tell you, before I was doing this, I could go into the shop. Before I learned this, like I said, we had $27,000 rent. We were coming up short all the time. Then it's like, okay, there's $10,000 in the bank and rent's due in a week. Okay, and I would go in the salon on a Thursday morning, there'd be 3 people busy. I'd be like, oh my God. I would literally get knots in my stomach. I'd be like, oh my gosh. Because I'm tired of taking money out of my account, And when I learned how to do that, I could literally go in the shop. And it probably wasn't 2 or 3 weeks after I learned how to do it. I know it was in the first month. I could go in the shop, there wouldn't be anybody working on a Thursday morning. No knots in my stomach, because I ain't focusing on that nonsense. I'm focused on how the guy said, God, this is great. How do I have 25 busy, skilled hairdressers? Now, that's all biblical stuff, right? But it's just wrapped in a different approach.
Yeah.
That's all Bible. But it's wrapped in a different approach, and it's orchestrated to be effective, like, when it happens. That's what God says too. But sometimes we're not that precise to explain, okay, watch yourself. Because he said the same thing. He said, cast every thought down that stands against his imagination. But sometimes when we're preaching, it's different than, okay, this is what you do. when you feel bad, I don't care if you don't know what you're thinking something bad. Okay? And then you go into that, and it changed everything for me. And my money didn't change in a month or 2 months or 3 months, but we slowly came right out of that. You know, step by step, we came out of it. And before you know, and then I was able to live without worrying like that anymore. Yeah.
Right.
A couple of quick tips too. You've got the church that's right by you, right? So ask if if you can sow seed to do a e-blast to their members. Like they'll e-blast it, confidentially, but is that something that they can do as a courtesy? Give them the ad and the link to the application, but do that with the church. See if they do it as a complimentary, or if you can sow a seed and do it a couple times. The other thing is the schools. They're going directly to the people that are most likely to need childcare, or would be willing to, while their kids are in school, do childcare too. So the schools are another thing that does e-blast. Some charge, I think it's like Peach Jar. Some charge a very small fee to do an e-blast to the flyer with the link.